Good morning, it is Pete Moriarty here. Wonderful to have you on the live stream. If you are new to the channel, we help entrepreneurs and business owners systemize, organize, and scale using Google Workspace. I'm so glad to have you here. In this video, I'm going to be covering all of the latest updates to Google Workspace, my favorite ones that I like to pick out that are relevant to small business owners. Now, if you're joining us on the live stream, please make sure you say hello. Drop a little hello down in the chat and let me know where you're watching from. Would love to know, and would love to know what your business is as well. Let me know what business you've got. If you can hear me okay, if you can see my screen full, that would be good. We've got lots of people joining live, and I'm really happy to have you here. Now, there are heaps of updates to get through today because it's been 2 months since I've recorded an updates video, so I'm going to actually go through October's updates and November's updates as well, and share with you all the goodies that Google have released over the last 2 months. And my word, there are a lot. So Danielle says, hello from Boston. Great to have you here, Danielle. Thank you so much for joining live. And even if you're watching the repeat, you can still say hello as well. Drop a hashtag repeat down in the chat, and I'll say hello as much as I can with the comments there. I always try and get to the comments as much as I can on the channel. As the channel grows, it's going to be harder and harder for me to get to every single comment, but I do try my very best. But if there's ever something that you'd like to see in a video, or you've got a question that you'd like me to answer for you, a personal question that you'd like me to create a video about, you can actually connect with me on my socials. Just head along to that URL at the bottom that you can see there, moriarty.co. Connect with me. Probably Instagram is the best place to connect, and send me your question there. Would love to connect with you. So without further ado, let's jump into the Workspace updates for the month, or for the last 2 months. And you can find all of these on the Workspace updates blog, but what I like to do is pick out the best ones and share the ones that are most relevant to small business owners, so you don't have to dig through the pages and pages and pages yourself. And without further ado, we're going to get started. So this first one is an update to Google Slides and or Google Meet. What this allows you to do is, I've got to remember what this one actually is. I've forgotten. I've looked at so many this morning. This is helping you share things. Okay, so Google created this new feature, which is actually quite groovy, and it allows you to work with people in a document and join a meeting while you're in a document live with people. And what that lets you do is you can actually share your document with anyone that you've got joining the meeting. And what this little feature does is basically it's suggesting if you've got people in a meeting and they don't have access to the document, anyone in the meeting who doesn't currently have access to the document that you're working with, it's going to pop up and it's going to prompt to share that document with everyone that you've got in the meeting. So you know how sometimes you're in a meeting and unfortunately not everyone has access to the document, and they've got to click the button and request, but that request actually goes through into your email. It doesn't actually go to the meeting directly. Well, this is a way to get access to that document automatically. So it's just little handy feature in there. If you haven't tried that one out already, that is one that I would recommend that you check out. Okay, moving along. Next on, we have the ability here to have more, again, Google being very smart with some automated suggestions, more automated suggestions for who you might like to share documents with. So when you go to that share menu and you share a document with someone, it's actually going to pop up like it does in your email sometimes. If you remember that from your Gmail, and says, hey, it looks like you're sharing it with these 3 people. Maybe you want to share it with a few extra people as well. But personally, I probably don't recommend you use this too much. We've got a rule inside our business, which is that we never use the blue button for sharing. As much as possible, we try and use shared drives for sharing permissions, and we set everyone up in permission groups in the admin panel. And when you set your team up in permission groups and then you share a shared drive with a group, it means that you're not going to accidentally share any files with the wrong person, and it means that you're going to keep your permissions nice and clean and tidy as your business scales. Now, I've got some dedicated videos on the channel on how to get your Google Drive permissions right. So if you search the channel for Drive permissions, you'll see I've got like a masterclass style video where I walk you through how to get all your permissions absolutely perfect. But it would be my recommendation not to use the blue button for sharing. We've got a rule internally. You're not allowed to use the blue button. You must always use shared drives. Okay, let's have a look at our next one here. So the next update to Google Workspace is consolidated controls page for Google Takeout. Now, what does that mean? That sounds a little bit techo. Well, what this actually means is that you can choose what your team are allowed to take out of their account using Google Takeout. And this is pretty important that you go and look at the settings in here. It's in your admin panel. So you head along to admin.google.com. And effectively, what this lets you do is choose what stuff someone can export from their account. Now, if you're running a business, you probably don't want to let your staff export anything from their account. You'd probably want to switch off Google Takeout completely, because Google Takeout allows someone to basically create a downloadable zip file with every single thing inside their account. And it's probably not appropriate for any of your staff to be doing a big download of everything inside their Google account. Now, of course, it would be pretty unlikely for someone to do that inside of Google Workspace, because if they were silly enough to leave your business and try and steal your intellectual property, anytime someone runs Google Takeout, it's going to be saved in the administrative logs. So you're going to see that that was done. But sometimes from time to time, you do have people who unfortunately have nefarious intentions. And this may be something that you wish to do to lock things down, to actually untick all those boxes to stop anyone from using Google Takeout inside the business. So you can see here that you go inside your Google Workspace account, you go to Account, I think it was, and then Google Takeout. We'll just wait for the GIF again. There we go, Account, and then Google Takeout, and you can adjust the settings there right across your domain. Okay, wonderful. Next up, access approvals to control data access during support or maintenance. So when Google access your account, if you need support from the Google help desk, you actually need to grant them permission to access your Google account. So you're not letting Google just go into the back end of your account any day of the week. You have to actually give them approvals. And I find this pretty funny because, 10 years ago when we were pitching businesses to switch from Microsoft over to Google, they'd ask us, oh, well, can Google see my data? And there was this fear in the back of people's minds that somehow Google was evil, or somehow Google cared about the business data that was inside their account. Or, the big one was like, does Google own my data? If I put my data on Google Documents, does Google own my data? And, I find that pretty funny that people think that Google, as a $100 billion a year company, cares about the data in their spreadsheets, in their Google Drive. But anyway, that was a legitimate fear that people had. But understandably, Google built tools in place to make it very, very, very clear and obvious that they don't have access to your data, because they never really did have access to your data. It sits encrypted on their servers. And no Google engineer can just go and kind of look up your files inside Google Drive. But what Google have done now is they've made just another level of deeper permission required from you to actually grant access to your data. And this may be important for compliance needs if you're in the legal or accounting or finance industry, or maybe you're dealing with medical data, or maybe you're a defense contractor and you're working with government or defense in your country. Well, this might make sense for your own compliance controls to ensure that if a third party needs to access the data, which Google is technically a third party accessing data, that those requests are actually properly triaged, because that is a requirement for some insurances, and that is a requirement for some governance controls around things like defense data access. So you can see here there is actually an access approvals request. And so what this gives administrators the ability, if you're like the IT manager for your business, it gives your staff the ability to request, and then you the ability to approve or deny a request, just to make sure that everything is kosher there when you have external parties who need to access the data, Google support being one of them. So useful if you're in one of those industries that may need something like that. All right. So next up, Google have now enabled Do Not Disturb for Google Chat on a schedule, which I really, really love. This is a great feature. Really, really happy that they put it in. And so Do Not Disturb schedule, if you open up your chat, you just click down on your status and you can actually create a schedule for when you want to be on Do Not Disturb. Is the best way to make sure that you're not getting alerts in the middle of the night if someone is hitting you up on chat. And I really think this is important to find a good balance of your notifications. I've made lots of videos on how to work with Google Chat, why you should be using Google Chat instead of something like Slack or WhatsApp or Messenger inside your business. Google have built in a number of really, really great features to Google Chat to make it on par, if not better, than other business chat applications that are out there that people still may be using. And there's one more feature coming up in a couple of minutes, which you are going to absolutely love, which I've been waiting for 2 years for them to build, and they finally built it. But I want to talk about how you should be making sure that you have balance in your notifications, because chat is really challenging. It can be an interruption factory, right? And you've got to imagine that chat is a little bit like walking up to somebody's office cubicle, knocking on the door and saying, hey, are you free right now? Chat basically creates an interruption anytime you send someone a message. And particularly if you have remote teams, you're going to need to be using chat, but you're going to have to find that you're managing what goes into chat and then what goes into something else like a task or project management system like Trello or Asana or Monday or whatever else you happen to be using. So I try and strike a balance with my chat notifications in that we have lots of chat rooms set up. We've got some that are kind of like social chat rooms where we can goof off. We call it the water cooler, and we just post what we're up to on our weekend and, that kind of thing, and memes and funny stuff, right, that we want to share with the team in there. Then we've got like an announcements chat room, and that's where our HR team, we call them the Empower team, are posting announcements to our team in there. So we want everyone to be following the announcements one. We've got our main team room, which people will use for checking in and checking out, because we've got people in different time zones, and you may not know whether or not someone's in today or out today or busy or not, and so we will use that too. But that can be a lot of notifications, including direct messages, and then project spaces that are set up as well for individual project teams or individual organizational teams within the company. So trying to find that balance is challenging with the notifications. And, I find sometimes there's people working in a different time zone, and like I'm the executive director of the business. Like I want to stay in touch with what's going on in the business, but I also need to have a life and have, some switch off time as well. Otherwise, as entrepreneurs, we can be completely overwhelmed by our connection to our business. And if you never have any switch off time, then you're not going to be able to perform well in the business. So I really love that Google have put this feature in place. I use a similar feature in Asana, so it doesn't bug me with notifications on any days that are not my work days. So it's only Tuesday to Thursday that Asana will bug me with notifications. Otherwise, basically, I'm on snooze mode. So you can go set this up. I'd recommend you go set this up today. Jump into your chat. If you're still using something else for chat, I recommend that you consider switching over to Google Chat. The next feature that I'm going to show you in a couple of minutes is going to complete the picture for Google Chat finally, and give you absolutely everything that you need in there. So let me know what you think. If you're on the live stream right now, or even if you're watching the replay, how's your relationship with notifications, and how's your relationship with chat inside your business? Do you find it overwhelming? Do you find it difficult to stay on top of? Do you find that people go to chat for non-urgent things and you end up being interrupted often? Have you just turned your notifications off? I've switched my notifications so they don't pop up on my computer, so they don't distract me. But I do get a little audible ping. I have switched on the little audible ping, so I know if someone wants my attention, I can be alerted to that. But one of the other things that I like is when I've got it pinned inside Google Chrome, and so let me go and open up my my Google Chrome here, and I'll show you guys what it looks like when I've got it pinned inside Google Chrome. So to pin a tab, you just right click on a tab and you select pin. You can see here that the little tab, it's probably very hard to see on YouTube, but it's got a little red dot there. So when I've got an unread message, it's actually going to be a little red dot. And that little red dot just kind of like sits there in the corner of my eye and lets me know when I've got a new notification there. So sometimes that's enough, but I don't mind having the notification sound kind of running there at the moment. Cool. So Julie has said #repeat. No, you're on the live, Julie. You're not on the repeat. You're on the live. Hello. Google Chat Hangouts update, please. Julie, I'd love to know if you have a more specific question. I'd be happy to answer that for you. Danielle has said, regarding chat, I'm a solopreneur, so I have no issues. I don't have many folks using Google Workspace and using Gmail to get them to use at this time. Okay, cool. I'm not quite sure I understand the second half of your message there. Maybe you can clarify. But thank you for thanks for posting that up, Danielle, and thank you for joining. Okay, so we have our next update for Google. You can now manage projects and tasks in Google Sheets with a timeline. How cool is this? Google have made a timeline tool for Google Sheets, and you can actually use that. There was an even sexier picture here, but it seems to have changed. I don't know. Maybe I'll refresh here. But you can actually start to build out. There we go. You can actually start to build out timelines inside Google Sheets now. Isn't this a cool feature? So effectively, you can build kind of like, Gantt chart type timelines. I remember those from high school. We do use them sometimes in our projects as well. But this is right inside a Google Sheet. It's using what they're calling Smart Canvas, which I haven't delved into much myself. But this is pretty darn cool that you can start to build out some more things. I suspect that Google are responding to the threats of other tools like Airtable, or Smartsheet, I think was one of them. I can't remember the name of that of the other tool that allow you to do more with spreadsheets, more than just what a basic spreadsheet can do. And if you think about it, spreadsheets were one of the very first tools that arrived for businesses right back when computers were invented. Spreadsheets were one of the very first things that were actually created as an app, or we didn't call them apps back then. It was called software that you could use on your computer. What a long way spreadsheets have come now with, automated AI and, graphs and tables and charts and all those kind of things. And pivot tables, they're also very useful. But live updating in Google Sheets really took us into a new dimension. And now Google are building in some more pretty cool features to take spreadsheets to the next level. So check that out. That should be rolled out pretty soon to everybody's accounts. Next up is a reminder. We've talked about this a number of times over the last few years, but that is a reminder that the old Google Sites, what was called the classic Google Sites, is going away. If you've been following me for a while, I've promoted Google Sites as a great place to store your systems and processes and policies and how-tos for the business, so you can build a digital standard operating procedures manual online and give your whole team access to that. So I've shared that many people should be using Google Sites for that purpose, yet Google have switched the old classic sites over to a new sites. And just a reminder, they're going to shut down the old one not before the end of the year. It's going to be January 30. They're shutting down the Google Sites, the old Google Sites. New Google Sites is in place. Doesn't quite have every single feature that the old Google Sites had, but it is still a great way to store your systems and your processes for your business online. All right, let's move on to our next one. Custom emojis are coming to chat. This is a very cool feature. Excited about this. Personally, I've never used custom emojis, but I am a big fan of using memes and GIFs to communicate. So I'm looking forward to what creative things our team are going to do with custom emojis inside our company. So you can actually share, when you create a custom emoji, you can actually share them with your colleagues, and your colleagues will be able to add them as well. So I think that would be pretty cool to use, maybe some company logos, or maybe you have team values that you would like to share in emojis, or maybe you have memes, like create an emoji for the boss and you can throw that in there. That will be a pretty cool feature that everyone's going to be able to use, and it looks like it will also work on mobiles as well, which is pretty darn groovy. Now, I think this is pretty funny right now because a crypto firm, FTX, just collapsed, which is pretty bad story for any investors or people who had money stored inside the exchange. But one of the things that came out of that collapse was that their corporate controls were so bad inside their company that they were actually using custom emojis to approve expenses across the company. So we've got this running joke now inside our business that for something to be improved, you have to receive a certain emoji for that finance approval to go through. And so I'm really glad that we can now literally implement custom emojis inside our business to approve expenses. And thank you, Google, for bringing that feature. We appreciate it very, very much. All right, I'm going to check for any extra questions. Danielle has said, I thought you must have a Gmail account to use Google Chat. If you do, I only have a few people to use Google Chat because sounds like there's only a few people with Gmail. Yes, you do need to have a Google account. Although most people will have a Gmail account. Most people in the world do have a Gmail account because they've either signed up to YouTube or they wanted to use Google Drive at one point. or maybe someone shared something with them in the Google ecosystem and they signed up. So most people will have at least a Gmail account, and you can use Google Workspace to chat to people that are on Gmail. You can even create a what was previously called rooms. They're now called spaces, but you can create a Google Chat space. And inside that Google Chat space, you can actually invite external users. When you create a new space, you've got to tick a box to make sure you do. But that allows you to add external users as well. So there's quite a lot that you can do with a Gmail account. But understandably, not everyone uses Gmail for their business emails. So, it might be a bit confusing for some people where, you've got one email that you're emailing them back and forward for your business relationship with them, but then to share stuff in the Google ecosystem, they've got to sign into their personal Gmail. That might be a bit weird. So that can be challenging sometimes. Moving on to our next update, you can now use mail merge fields inside the mail merge feature inside of Gmail, which is pretty darn groovy. I don't know why this wasn't available via in the launch. Seems kind of odd to me, but you can see here the multi-send feature in Gmail, they're calling it, which is basically a mail merge. It gives you an unsubscribe link, which will keep you compliant with anti-spam laws, but it lets you basically send bulk emails from inside Google rather than doing a mass BCC, which people usually do in lieu of a tool like this. You can now use first name or last name, and that's just going to pull that person's information from your address book. Google's address book is pretty smart. It basically automatically builds up your address book based on everyone that you email back and forward. And so people that you select to send out a merge email to, you can now actually have their user fields from the address book entered into the mail merge, which is going to create the custom email and say, hi, Peter, rather than hi there, or whatever you've been sending so far. So great little feature there. Love that one, and glad that Google are updating that and implementing that. I really love that they're building out these tools that are useful that we usually have to go to external third-party apps for. So the business, Google's landscape is really expanding. Their footprint of what they can help you with is expanding. And I like that because it means that, for one person, it's not really that much of a hassle to use different tools and add-ons. But once you have a team and staff, and if you've got 5, 10, 15, 20 people in the business, if you want to equip everyone with the right tools to do their job, it can really be a bit of a pain to have to spin up another plugin for every person, another app for every person, one more website to log into for each person. And you can also run into what we call subscription overwhelm, where every new app is another $5 per month. And all of a sudden, when you've got to roll that out to 10 people or to 20 people inside your business, those bills start adding up. For something that you may seldom use regularly, it makes more sense for Google to build these tools into the ecosystem, make them really, really useful, especially for small businesses, and then have them available for all of your staff without having to go for a third-party product or add-on. It is also much more secure as well, which is very, very important. Third-party plugins and add-ons are one of the most common ways that security breaches happen. And what I mean by that is, usually there'll be a developer and they build an amazing app, but sometimes they forget about it. And what happens is they can, have security vulnerabilities that are exposed in their app over time. And if they're not actively maintaining and updating that app and keeping any security holes plugged, then that can be the way that someone can potentially get into your staff's Google account. So that's why I want you to be careful as a business owner or IT leader with what apps you roll out and what plugins you roll out to your team, because they can be additional security vulnerabilities inside your business. Okie dokie. Next up, you can now present your slideshow directly in Google Meet. And my God, this is such a cool feature. So excited about this. So I'm sure many times you have run a Google meeting and you've wanted to present a Google slideshow. But what we normally have to do to get it to look good is we've got to actually open up the slides in full screen, but then you can't see any of the people anymore because you've got it open in full screen. So they can see your slides in full screen. So what we end up doing is just clicking through the different slides, but you can see the interface there and everything, and it's a little bit distracting. Well, what you can do now is if you've got your slide presentation open up in a separate tab, then you can actually present and flick through the slides right inside the Google Meet, which I think is a phenomenal feature. So clever of Google to build this, and great feature. Can't wait for that one to show up. because that's going to turn this into a more professional looking presentation once you've got that set up there inside your Meet. So really looking forward to that. That'll come soon. Again, I talk over and over and over and over again about going all in on Google, and I can't say it enough. If you're currently using Keynote or PowerPoint for your presentations, give Google Slides a go. Convert your template and start creating your new ones from Google Slides, because features like this, where everything just talks together, make it really, really great to do everything in the Google ecosystem as much as possible. It's more secure, it's more consistent, and as you grow and scale your business, it's going to be a better experience for you and also for your staff as well. Trust me on it. Do everything Google, and you're going to have a better time. You're going to have a better time. Okay, so we have a question here. Company I work for uses G Suite. While I enjoy and I love the Google ecosystem, I really miss folders in Office 365. Is there a way to mimic this? So the viewer is difficult. Thank you for joining. So that's a great question. If you're someone who misses the Microsoft ecosystem, honestly, there are a number of ways to actually find ways to get the same things done in Google. Folders, I'm assuming, well, I don't know what you're talking about exactly, but inside of Google Drive, you can create folders. Inside of Gmail, you can create labels, which can act like folders. If you drag and drop an email into a label, it effectively moves it out of the inbox and it acts like a folder. I'd love to know in what area specifically you're having trouble with, because I think there's a pretty good folder experience in most areas of the business. One of the things that Google does really well is My Drive and shared drives being separate now. So you need to be on the right plan for Workspace, but setting up shared drives is kind of like mimicking the old school business server, right? Where you would have a server set up, and on that server, you would have protected drives for the business where you can put files in, but not delete files. Well, that option is available inside shared drives now, and you can set them up as like a company folder structure. So yeah, I'd love to know from you what specific areas are you having challenges with right now when it comes to folders in Google. What are you missing? Let me know, and I'll answer that as well as I can. Okay. So conversation summaries. I just wanted to show this one off because I love it. Google have now created conversation summaries. So when you log into Google Chat, if there's been a bunch of discussion inside chat while you've been away, it will actually give you a conversation summary. And so you can see, like all these different updates here from the team are just being collapsed and collated based on Google's AI and machine learning. I think it's an amazing feature. And so that should be popping up in your chat pretty soon. I think it's going to be rolled out to everyone automatically. But yeah, pretty darn awesome that Google are making it easier for us to keep up with chat overwhelm. We run a remote team. We've got nearly 50 people across the group. We've got multiple countries. We've got multiple time zones. We've got multiple locations. And we find that a lot happens in chat, even if we don't want it to. We do have one office in Melbourne in Australia, but primarily our team work from home or co-working spaces or on the road or traveling. And so what that means is that we have a lot of people in different locations. And how do they connect? Well, they use chat to connect. And so this gives you an ability as a leader or a manager in your business to not have to read every single message, but to get a bit of an update of, the vibe of what's going on inside the business with conversation summaries. So thank you, Google, for that. Great update to chat. Obviously, lots of people are using Google Chat now internally. Google have built it right into Gmail. And so they're adding updates rapidly to chat. Now, without further ado, let me move to my number one favorite Google Chat feature that Google have finally built, which is called, where is it? Threads, inline threading. They're calling it inline threading. And inline threading allows a threaded conversation to kind of like collapse. Like in Gmail, how your conversations collapse. Well, they're now collapsing the threaded conversations inside chat, which is probably the number one most requested feature and most complained about lack of feature that we've had since Google Chat was introduced. Because when Google Chat was introduced, everyone was using Slack. Do you remember that? Everyone was using Slack, or maybe they were using Messenger. But in Slack, when you had a thread conversation, it would roll up that thread, and so it wouldn't distract the noise in the whole room, right? And so until now, Google have made it a bit challenging to catch up with everything that's going on. That's why they've created conversation summaries. That's why they've needed to, because the chats can get so much text in there, particularly if you have a big team or a lot of people in one room, that things can just turn into a complete mess. But these collapsed inline threads mean that you can have a main conversation and then a side conversation. So people can like take a conversation. It's almost like jumping into a meeting room together and creating a side conversation. So let's have a close look at this. I want to show you exactly what this looks like so you get an idea. So you can see it says 10, see it says 10 replies there, and it's got this side conversation going in the thread here, but it's not going to keep everybody in the main project bugged with all of those individual messages. And so it's just fantastic, particularly when you've got like a big chat and you've got 5 people involved in that, but 1 or 2 or 3 people need to have a little side conversation. It works absolutely fantastic for that. So thank you, Google. Great feature. Absolutely love it. Should have built it 3 years ago, but I still love you. That's okay. Great feature. You need to go and switch this on. I don't know whether or not it's been rolled out for my account, but let me go ahead and let me go and look at the settings for this chat room and see if I can actually switch it on. View space details. Oh, I don't think I'm the owner of that space. Okay, maybe I'll go to a space where I'm actually the owner. Okay, I'll go to our marketing team. Let's open this up. Space details. See if I can edit. Okay, it doesn't appear like it's giving me the option. It does say you need to go into the advanced options to switch it on. So we will check that out, and we may create a reel or something like that. So no admin control, but it is being rolled out gradually. So it may not have appeared for my account yet. Anyway, but we'll come back to that one in a reel or something, or maybe a video that we put up on the channel. Okay, so finally, and this is a small update, you can now split cells inside Google Docs. I don't know if this is useful for you. Sometimes I highlight some of these little features just in case you're that one person who's been waiting for this to be implemented for years and years and years and years. But you can now split cells, which is pretty cool. Tables have been honestly pretty average throughout most of the Google ecosystem. Tables are just one of those things that are a bit dicky to work with, in my opinion. But it looks like Google are giving you some more options there, which is pretty groovy. All right, next up, this is a very cool feature inside Google Meet. You can now transcribe anything that is said inside a Google call when you are recording, and it dumps it all into a Google document for you. And my God, I love these. These are so cool. How cool is this for creating content? If you want to create like written content, or if you're creating a training of some sort, when you actually have a Google Meet recorded, you can choose to automatically create a transcription, and that transcription is saved as a document, and it is attached to the meeting calendar invite. So if you've had a calendar based meeting and you've recorded that meeting, I had one last night. Let's go and see if the transcription was switched on. Go and open my calendar here. Let me open up. I think I did a training here. Here we go. Cool. So we've got our Gravity Forbes training transcript. Let's open this up. Here we go. And you can see anyone who is talking is going to be automatically transcribed. You can see all the curse words are blanked out there. That's fantastic. Anyway, you might not be able to see that, but yeah, you can see the full transcription is there in a Google document, which is amazing. How good's that for creating content? We're going to use that in our business, I can tell. So we've got a couple more questions that are coming through. Now's your last chance to ask me any questions that you want to. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap things up. That's it for the news component, but I'm going to answer as many questions as I can. This is Regional Finance Broker. Is Google Voice ever coming to Australia? My God, I hope so. I've said this on a previous live stream. If I had information that it was coming and a timeline, I would not be able to tell you because of our NDA with Google. But what I would say is that it's coming soon. Right now, I cannot say that it's coming soon, unfortunately. I do not have any information on when it's coming. We were actually, I've got to be careful with what I disclose here. We were able to say that it was coming soon in the past. And I'm now no longer able to. Something happened, and I don't have any information on it, unfortunately. So we will be the first to let you know when it does happen. We're obviously the top small business partner in Australia. This is an amazing, product that we would love to roll out to Australians. It's not yet available. We do have a very, very, very compelling product, though, for cloud-based phone calls. It's called Dialpad. The pricing is similar to Google Voice. We're a partner for Dialpad in Australia, so have a chat to our team if you'd like to get that implemented. It has a number of AI and machine learning features and team management features and analytics that Google just do not have inside of Google Voice. And so I would recommend you strongly consider Dialpad as an alternative. Have a chat to our team. We put that inside hundreds of companies, and it's a really great app. Works with Australian phone numbers, and our team are geared up to support you with that. So if you're interested in a cloud-based telephony system that integrates deeply with Google Workspace, I'd highly recommend Dialpad, and we've got other videos on that on our channel as well. Okay, cool. So we have someone who asked an earlier question about folders. They've said inside the Gmail window, labels don't feel like a folder, if that makes sense. Correct. Labels act more like tags. They're not quite folders, but I mean, you can use them like folders. When you drag and drop something into a label, it does effectively operate like a folder, but there's some different things. But I've got a philosophy on folders and labels inside of Gmail, and I want to tell you about that. If you learn a couple of the basics with search, and I do have, I think, some videos on this. If not, they're in Genius Academy. So if you transfer your licensing into itGenius, you get access to Genius Academy. But if you learn some of the basics on search inside of Gmail, then you can pretty much do away with needing folders or labels because the search is very, very powerful, especially the advanced search. And because it never has to index locally, it doesn't have to use the power of your local computer or the local database, like with Outlook, which can crash sometimes or run slowly or have to re-index every couple of weeks. You can pretty much do away with the need for using labels. And, you know, I've got like 500,000 emails in my inbox from over 10, 12 years now, probably, of running this business. And I don't really need to use any labels because I can search for an email from 10 years ago and it's instantly going to appear as long as I put in the right search parameters. Now, I did just remember we have published some videos recently on the channel from Joyce, our professional trainer, and one of those was on search. So if you search our channel for the word search, you'll find some tips on search in that video. Cool. Ali, my #1 live stream fan, that is correct. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining. Looking for a new gig and still working in your solar business, Google Workspace. You've got a brand new Google MacBook. Awesome. Apple MacBook, that is great. Thank you so much for joining, Ali. Good to see you, and great to have you on the stream. All right. Amber, sorry, has asked, is recording a new feature of Google Meet? How do you activate it? Google Recording in Meet has been around for a while, a year or two now. It is an amazing feature. What it allows you to do is to automatically record your Google Meet and have it put straight into your Google Drive, which is much better than using Zoom. Because if you're using Zoom and you record a meeting, it usually records to your computer and you've got to wait for it to render and process. And so if you do a bunch of meetings, you've got like 5 meetings to render at the end of the day, and then you've got to remember to upload them to Google Drive, and it slows down your internet connection. It's a pain in the butt. The alternative is to use their cloud storage, which gets expensive when you fill it up, and you've got to download them manually and then upload them manually. Pain in the ass, no one's going to do that. But with Google Meet, you record the meeting, it automatically drops it into your Google Drive, cloud to cloud, no uploads required. It just goes in the background to your cloud Google Drive. Then it attaches the meeting recording to the calendar event. And so if you had a calendar event, let me show you the calendar event from my training that I ran yesterday. You can see here that the training is actually in here as a video. So I can click that link. It's shared with everyone who is a part of the meeting. And when I need to, I can just go and play that straight from my Google Drive. So very, very cool feature. But you need to be on the right plan. So you need to be at least on a business standard plan. You can't be on the starter or the basic plan. Can't remember what it's called these days. You need to be on a business standard plan for Google Workspace to get access to Meet. And if it's not yet switched on, we do have a blog on our website. It's the #1 blog at the moment, actually, is where did my Google Meet recording go? I can't find it. You can switch it on inside the admin panel and you'll get access. If you have any trouble with that, though, just message our concierge team and they'll be happy to help you out with that. All right, I'm going to wrap up things there. Thank you so much for joining. If you are new to our channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. Give me a big thumbs up if you like this content. Drop a comment down below. Say hello. Let me know if you've got any further questions. If you'd like me to cover something specifically, please connect with me on socials. Head to moriarty.co and you get links to everything we got going on in the business. We have a Google Workspace training happening, a live training happening tomorrow. That is for larger businesses. So if you've got more than 20 employees, jump onto our security training tomorrow. There's a link to that in my bio there. My bio links when you click through to the URL. But if you're an admin or a business owner of Google Workspace, and we can help you in a number of ways. If you're interested in our concierge service, it's basically a premium support and VA service for Google Workspace. But we also cover a whole bunch of other small business tech tools. Asana, Dialpad, we've got LastPass, we've got all these small business tools that help small business owners succeed, ready to rock and roll for you. So if you have trouble making decisions on what technology tool that you want to choose, or maybe you're someone who just wants to delegate things and have other people do things for you, so you're not trying to do it yourself. I know that early stage business owners have millions of priorities that you're trying to manage, and a to-do list, which is probably out the wazoo. Use our concierge service to get things done for you when you don't want to have to do it yourself. And so we are a technical concierge, a technical VA service. It's better than trying to hire your own team to do IT stuff, because you only need someone like, maybe once a week or a couple of times a week to help with tech stuff, right? It's not enough for a full-time role. But if you're a small business, we can really help you get some of your time back by delegating tasks to us. Now, what do we do inside of Google Workspace? Well, it might be cleaning up your Google Drive. It might be helping you to archive some of the past employees that have left your business, but their user accounts are still hanging around because you want to keep their data. It might be setting up a dashboard in Google Data Studio. It might be finding the perfect formula for your spreadsheet. It might be setting up Zapier, which is like a cloud-to-cloud automation app. So, every time you have a lead fill out a form on your website, maybe you want the lead to show up inside Google Chat like we have. You might have noticed that earlier in the live stream, that when we have a new lead come through, they actually pop up inside our Google Chat. So the sales team get an instant notification that there's a new lead to follow up on. So all those kind of things we do inside our program called Concierge. It is so affordable. And there's actually a very, very limited offer at the moment. I'm going to drop that URL into the chat right here. But there is a limited offer because we are putting the prices up at the end of the year. It's actually going to go up about 3x. We've not increased prices for a long time, and we need to. It's going to triple in price for some of our plans. So if you're interested in Concierge, now is the time to get started. You can jump onto that link that I've just pasted in the chat. I've made a sales video there, so you can check out what Concierge is all about. Choose a plan that works for you. Or if you just want to chat to the team, then just drop in for a consultation with the team. They'll be very happy to connect with you, have a chat about your business, what your needs are, and see if we can help. All right, that's all for me. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful week. And I look forward to catching you in the next one. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.